Hello everyone, happy Thursday. Welcome back to The Attic. Today we are joined by Broadway star and legend Stephanie J. Block. I'm excited to bring her in to talk about the importance of arts education, joy and community. Someone I've always enjoyed following, a powerhouse on Twitter as well. So a lot of you suggested some topics on Instagram and on Twitter and on Facebook. I have so many questions, but I know Stephanie had a lot of questions as well, so I'm excited to bring her in and let's get to it. Buddy's also in the attic today, but I'm not going to call him out because I'm worried that he's
Am I here?
Hey!
Hi, did you get my little, this is the first time I've ever gone live on Instagram in my life.
Oh my gosh! Well, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, Chasten Buttigieg. How are you?
I'm great. Welcome to the attic.
Thank you. Welcome to, I guess, half of my bedroom. Is that appropriate to say?
Thank you. Well, I'm so glad that you could spend some time chatting today. The only goal of these live sessions is just to, spread some joy and togetherness. And, I know isolation can be really hard for a lot of folks. And so this is just one way that we can spread joy and come together. So I have always been a staunch supporter of the arts. I was a theater student myself. Big fan of yours. I'll try not to geek out too much.
Me too. I'll try not to geek out too much.
So, I mean, how are you doing right now in isolation? Are you in the city?
I'm not. We have a home in New Jersey. So luckily we have a little one. By the way, are parents reaching out to you saying teachers are amazing? I can't believe what I didn't know before, self-isolation?
I think a lot of teachers are like, we told you. Like, we told you it's
right?
a hard
You're giving
job.
us the side eye. I know. Great, deep respect for that. She's about to enter kindergarten, but she wakes up, it's about 6:20 in the morning, doesn't go to sleep until 8, and she is full bore. I like to say I have 3 children, and her name is Vivian, because she is just a life force. So that keeps us really busy, and I'll be honest in the sense that everybody's walk during this crazy time is different. I'm having a hard time negotiating being her mom and creating play worlds and living in this space of nothing's that seriously wrong, because I don't want her to pick up on my anxiety or fears or tears, but at the same time, I'm also desperate for what is happening out there. What are the facts and figures? How can I help? How can I be involved? Right. But I know staying home and being the best mom I can be and doing things like this is about what we can do, helping with the sewing of masks and PPE. But it's a very delicate balance to still be healthy of mind and spirit, being with her for 12, 14 hours in sort of this play world, while all the while trying to keep in touch with reality. So I step away, I cry, I have really tough hours, but at the end of the day, I think being a mom and being her mom especially, and having a partner that helps me greatly, is a beautiful distraction, right?
Yeah,
so.
I mean, there are also so many things that I think we are quick to take for granted, and I love and appreciate that I have a roof over my head, I have food in the pantry, I have a loving husband. I'm doing just fine. And part of helping is by not doing anything. And I think that's really hard for a lot of folks. We can, obviously there's so many ways we can help with, like you said, sewing masks and donating, but also our responsibility right now, our moral and social responsibility is to just stay home.
That's
and I think that can be really taxing, especially for me. I'm an extrovert, so I'm like craving to go outside. I think Pete's fine, like downstairs, like reading books all day.
Yeah. Did you like being out on the road? Did you like the campaign living, or was that exhausting to you? You need something kind of in the middle.
Yeah, I love both. So I think the hardest thing is the adjustment, because when we ended the campaign, I think we ended the campaign on March 2nd. And we flew to LA, Pete taped Kimmel, and then we came home because isolation started.
It was happening.
So we went from like 100 miles an hour to 0.
Right.
I loved being out on the road though. I mean, sometimes we do like 4 states in a day and be like
Wow.
crisscrossing the country. And I love talking to people, especially people who just feel left out. Like no one
Yeah.
cares about me. Nobody listens to me. And you just got
Yeah.
to show up and talk and make people feel good about themselves. And I spent a lot of time in the arts community, touring like community theaters and local arts organizations and talking about why the arts are so important. So I miss all of those connections and I miss seeing people. And I think the hard part is the adjustment. Now I'm here.
Right.
And that's why I love having these conversations. Is we can still be connected, even though we're, physically apart. We can
Right.
still be connected.
I totally honor it. I honor it.
So you're a big fan of the arts, and
Yeah.
obviously. So it was my hope out on the trail, like I said, I was constantly advocating for arts education. I talked about making that a platform. As First Gentleman, I believe the arts save lives, and they're important now more than ever. How did you find the arts? How did you fall into theater or performance, and what do they mean to you?
Yeah. Similarly, it was a life changer to me very early on. I was desperately wanting to be recognized, even though, raised in a traditional home, given the love that a child would want. There were different tiers, right? And I say this with love, but my sister was introduced as the beautiful one, and I was introduced as the talented one. So right off the bat, I was just yearning for something different, to be paid attention in a different way. God gave me a big voice. So I was a little person, 6, 7 years old. I'd open my mouth and I had this massive voice, and people did sit up and they would say, "Oh, you're a little Ethel Merman." I had no idea who that was, but I saw a shift in people, and their eyes kind of would sparkle a little differently, and their attention toward me was different. I know that sounds totally superficial and ego-based, but at that kind of young, impressionable age where I didn't quite know where I fit, I found something that made people sit up and pay attention to little Stephanie Block.
Wow.
By the time I was 11, I was kind of singing at community theaters and talent shows, and I started to train. And then it was really early that, quote unquote, I caught the bug, which obviously for me was much more than a bug. It really was finding my place in this world and allowing the art form to take over and give me a confidence and a courage that I don't know anything else would have given me, right? In the beginning, it was about disappearing, leaving myself and becoming something else. And that allowed me to be an extrovert like you, or that allowed me to speak my mind in a character voice that Stephanie wasn't brave enough to do. Now, and many years ago, I was able to find how they both could hold hands, and I could be me and still use the arts in a way that allowed me to speak up on my behalf, on other marginalized people, on their behalf. I think it also just allows kids to find this. We're looking for courage, but we're also looking for encouragement. And those that are in the arts, we instantly become a support group and a team and cheerleaders for each other. I think the outside world looks at us as being in competition with one another, but it's actually very different. It's like a huge support group of encouragement. And that allows kids to have roots and also wings where they can expand, and then feel braver to learn something else, and then feel braver to reach out behind them for someone else. Yeah. It's kind of the great connective tissue I have found, and I have also witnessed.
I couldn't agree more, and that's why I believe every kid, no matter what your zip code or your ability is, deserves access to arts education, high quality arts education. And I often said it wasn't necessarily the work that I was teaching in English or social studies. I found that some of the biggest growth I would see in my students was in the drama classroom. Because there's just a way, like you were saying, and it really struck a chord with me. When I was young and I left school, my mom would drop me off at the Old Town Playhouse in downtown Traverse City. And I got to go in there and be characters that Chasten didn't have the confidence to be. And I could throw my arms wide open, and I could be goofy and loud, and people would laugh and clap for me. And I didn't feel like I was allowed to be that person, in my own skin, walking down the hallway. And I want every kid to have that feeling,
Yeah, that beautiful outlet. That it's really quite something. And, you know, I did play team sports. I didn't excel. But again, I think I like to call them civilians or muggles, right? The ones that are kind of on the outside enjoying us, but haven't necessarily been immersed in it, that they may look at us as people that are going out on our own or getting the applause on our own. But I find it so communal. I find it so collaborative. And it really does feel like a team sport to me when I am in a cast or a company where we're all working toward the same storytelling or the same goal. I just love it.
Yeah. So, and you have talked openly about some of the setbacks that you faced in your own career. And what did you, what did you learn from them? And what do you say to other folks and other creatives who are, climbing that perpetual ladder?
It is a perpetual ladder. That's kind of the perfect phrase. There is no one journey to get to success. And then, of course, we can have a long, deep conversation about how you define success.
Right.
It's constantly going up 3 rungs up the ladder, down 2, down another 1, only up 1, but always kind of knowing that you are living your purpose, you're living your calling, that this is far more than just a job or a career. Most of us will embrace it as a lifestyle, right? It really seeps into every aspect of our life. And it also is something that we want to share with other people. And that's what I love, is that I'm completely immersed in it, and I see it bleeding off onto everybody that I know, a child that I'm raising. And that is what I would encourage people to do, is that if this is truly what you love, that it's your foundation. And it's not going to be handed to you. You're not always going to be working for a paycheck at the end of the week. The work is constant, and the work is because you love it. The work is because it inspires you. The work is because it feeds you in a way that nothing else does. I always also encourage kids to bring the messy, if that makes sense. We are trained so much to sing perfectly or look a certain way or have a certain posture and poise when we walk into a room. And I say, bring yourself, like find what makes you so comfortable. Don't shapeshift for other people. Bring what makes you special into the room. There's a big difference though between, confidence. I promise you that people will be engaged by who you are as opposed to polishing the sheen and trying to be what you think they want you to be behind that table of the audition room where the thousands of people in the audience.
Yeah. And there's so many of those, if you're trying to be, a different version of yourself that already exists in somebody else, well, that person already exists.
Exactly.
Right? And I found that so much in politics as well. I learned so many of those valuable lessons in the arts and in theater. And then I stepped into this political arena that I never felt like I belonged in. I felt like such an imposter at first. And then realized, what people are craving? Belonging. And you can't tell people they belong if you're pretending to be someone that you're not. You can't be a leader in a group if you don't yourself know why you're there. And journalists would ask me so often on the trail, what prepared you for this moment? Which I felt like was saying, you don't really belong here, so how are you, making do? And I would always joke, well, I have a theater degree, I can do anything. But I really did learn so many valuable skills in that training. Okay, ton of questions for you, and a lot of really funny questions from online.
Okay.
So first, you most recently won the Tony for your star performance in the Cher Show.
I did. I know. Thank you. Thank you. It was a good moment.
Incredible. Do you carry it around the house with you?
I do not. What was so kind of foreign and strange is after you accept your award, you are asked to bring it down the press line. You're asked to bring it to every party. It's like, you've got your purse and your trophy and you're just kind of walking around with this shiny appendage. It's very odd, but no, it's got a good place up in the attic. So it'd be sitting right behind you in your shelf back there. And I have to go up
I've got a spot for it.
Find myself. Look at you. So it feels like a beautiful badge of a long career. I call myself a workhorse as opposed to a show horse. So I've been around for a long time, and to just be recognized by those in my industry in that way, it was a moment I won't soon forget, that's for sure.
It was incredible. You you have this really great story about how you eventually found the voice of Cher.
Oh, yeah.
And I
Yes.
was right. Can you share that with? Can you share
Oh,
that
man.
with?
Yes, I can share. So, in a Reader's Digest version, I was approached to play Cher several times, and it just didn't feel like that was my role. So I kept with as much grace as I could and much thankfulness as I could. Thank you, no thank you. I don't think it's me. Thank you, no thank you. The play kind of took several forms within the 2 years that we were workshopping it and sending it out of town to Chicago. And then when it came to New York, it really was me popping up on the stage dressed in the turn back time outfit, having to look as much like her and sound as much like her as I possibly could. And that really scared me. And I'm really thankful that it took 2 years of changing and massaging this piece to get me there. But it was between Chicago, out of town and performing in Chicago and New York. And I had the script with me, and my husband and I were away, spending the summer. And I was reading the script, but I was also bleaching my teeth with Crest white strips. And so out of nowhere, I was reading the script and being like, oh my God, Sonny, no, this isn't going to work. I don't know how. And my husband goes, Stephanie, I don't know what you're doing, but you sound just like her. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my God, honey, what am I doing? And it came to be that the Crest white strips was what sent all my focus to that part of my mouth. And I was trying to lubricate my front teeth. And I was changing everything. And so once I took them off, I had to find that placement again. But, as a singer, we pride ourselves on knowing the instrument, knowing to lift the soft palate and send the focus and use the mask and all these terms. And I just couldn't find it. It was so inconsistent until Crest white strips. Who would have thought? It's those
I love that.
along the way. You have to pay attention or else you're going to miss something that's like, a huge key into the character.
That's incredible. It must have been intimidating. I mean, just
Yeah.
playing this iconic woman.
Yeah.
What was that like when you first met her? Because I'll tell you about the first time I met her, and I'm
Okay.
wondering if there are similarities.
Well, we were told, so again, the incarnations, those of you that are watching that don't necessarily know what it looks like to make a Broadway show. So they had different readings. Those are table readings where there's absolutely no sort of production value. Then we were on our feet for 2 weeks, learning choreography, memorizing lines, but we're still in a rehearsal space. So it's still kind of an empty warehouse room with fluorescent lights and we knew that Cher was coming in with her entourage of about 12, 15 people, all of who have been with her life for a very long time, and whether that be her best friend, her manager, her voice teacher. And we were told she was going to come in about a half hour before we were to do the presentation. And she wanted to meet us all and just, talk to us for a minute. I, as an actor who was about to present Cher for Cher, she was only going to be sitting about 5 feet away from me. I must admit I hid because I didn't want to meet this life force before I was asked to be her for her. I thought it was just going to take me out of the game. So I hid. I went upstairs to a bathroom and our stage manager knocked on the door and said, she wants to meet you. And I said, please give her all my love and respect, but I don't have the constitution to meet her right now. And then up comes our producer and says, you really have been summoned. There's no choice. You have to come to meet.
You can't say
So
no.
I did, and she was gracious and she was lovely. And she said, I know what it's like to present art for people. And I know how vulnerable this is. I have no idea what it is to be me for me, but I can only imagine. And so she did kind of allow us to relax our shoulders and just kind of be in that moment. But it was the hardest thing I think I've ever done in this business to do that for her. And make no mistake, she was protected spiritually and mentally and physically. Like she had aviator sunglasses on that were reflective, so we didn't see the whites of her eyes. She had this gorgeous, almost black velvet sombrero fedora, unbelievable hat on. But you would see her reach over and grab someone's hand, and you'd see a tear streaming down her face, under the aviator sunglasses. And there were hugs and there was appreciation. And so that in and of itself was a blessing, just to say, wow, we may not be perfect, but we were on the right track. And she was willing to then kind of hand over or, again, be in a collaboration with us to move on to Chicago and then ultimately Broadway. So it was incredible. Intimidating. Scary as all out, but
absolutely.
Incredible.
I hope you can't hear Buddy snoring on your end.
No, where's Buddy?
He's snoring so loudly. I feel like we're talking about Cher and it's very disrespectful right now. He's over here in his little doggy bed.
See, look, nobody sleeps through a Cher story, buddy. Wake it up.
So inconsiderate. He's just like, whatever, it's not about me.
Whatever.
So
what was your...
I think Pete had done like a fundraiser for, or he hosted an event here in Indiana for Hillary Clinton, and then Cher came to Chicago to do an event for Hillary Clinton. And some folks called up and like, do you guys want to come meet Cher? And I like dragged Peter to Chicago, and long story long, that morning when we woke up, I came out into the living room from getting dressed, and Pete and I were wearing the exact same thing. But we were staying in Chicago, and I was like, you need to change. And he was like, this is like my outfit. Like, I don't have anything else. So whatever. Right. I put a sweater on, like over the dress shirt. We go to the event. It's like hundreds of gay men just like nervously wandering around, like waiting for Cher to be there. And Pete's like enjoying the charcuterie table in the corner. Right. And I was like, how can you right now? Like, Cher's on her way. So she arrives, her entourage, like gives everyone the instructions for meeting her. We get up there and I just completely word vomit. And she like put a hand on both of our shoulders and she was like, aren't you cute? Or whatever, right? And I was like, well, you know how sometimes like when you're in a same-sex relationship and you wear the same thing, and like we wore the same thing, and then I was like, you have to change, and he was like, you have to change. So I put the sweater on and it just like all came out. And she looked at me and she goes, okay. Like turned, and the photo is like her arm around Pete and then me. Like I'm just there on this side. I think I completely freaked her out. It's like, what's this?
Can you imagine, though, being in the spotlight for 60 years as she has, and has met every walk of life, and the stories that have been told and the dolls that they've been, made for her? I can't even, still to this day. And, she and I will communicate on a personal level, whether that be text or phone call or email.
Oh my gosh.
And I still can't even believe what that life must look like on a day-to-day basis. It's just something none of us can really wrap our head around. She's a planetary force. And when people do approach them, and I can only imagine, when I go out the stage door and there's a little bit of, will you sign the shakes that happen when she is around, the screams when she would surprise us and come out on stage at the theater, the wall of sound, I've never experienced what that was until you're standing next to Cher. It's really unbelievable.
Okay. We haven't even gotten into so many things. I thought a hilarious question was when you sang I'm Breaking Down in falsetto. Yes. What was that like, singing with a banana in your mouth? And someone wanted to know specifically, did you eat the banana every show?
I ate the banana every show. I'm glad that they didn't know that, though. I'm glad they thought it was something fresh that just happened to, occur when they were in the audience. James Lapine is a genius. So when we were setting up this particular number, those of you who have not seen falsettos, it's a housewife who is breaking down. It's in the 80s. Her husband has fallen in love with another man, but wants to keep a tight-knit family. And this woman is all about keeping house and home just perfect. And so she's in her kitchen making a banana carrot surprise. And through the 5 minutes, literally just cracking and falling apart. And at the end, I have a butcher knife in my hand. My mouth is filled with bananas, and I'm singing this massive note. This all happened as a mistake. Our set was literally just one piece, and we all had to move the set pieces around. And there was a young boy in our show who played my son. His name is Anthony Rosenthal. He's a genius, but he was the one that had to pick up if anything fell on the floor from this particular number, whether that be carrots or a knife or banana, he'd have to pick it up. So in rehearsal, I knew that this huge piece of banana was going to fall on the floor, and what a mess that was going to be for him. So I just tossed it in my mouth so he didn't have to, and finished the number. James Lapine, our director, came up and said, "Do you think you can do that 8 times a week?" And I was like, "I don't know." So I figured out a way how I could smush it, make sure it was on both sides of my mouth. Sometimes it would spew out of my mouth. But at that point at the number, it was right for the character. It was right for the storytelling. And yeah, I'd eat it every single night. And then I was just covered in banana. And I had, I think, like 10 seconds to run off stage. My dresser was there to wipe my hands, wipe my face, and back on stage I went. But it was by sheer mistake and protecting this other actor not to clean up my icky mess. And it became like a cool moment, a really cool Broadway moment.
Yeah, quite a few people commented on the banana.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, lasting impression. I did a show in college once, Fuddy Mears, where I had to like angrily eat a bowl of cereal and like finish the whole thing in the scene. That was a lot. Out of all of your performances, and like all of the ballads that you sang, or like the ones that we all just love you for, that we want to belt in the shower, do you have a favorite? Because I have to say, Get Out and Stay Out from 9 to 5.
Oh, 9 to 5.
All the time.
Oh my gosh, well that could be a whole other show, working with Dolly Parton and having Dolly Parton write music for you, right? That's a whole other hour in your attic. I love that song. I will be honest now, when I do it in concerts, I ask for it for a half step down. Like, it's just, I like to place these things high when I'm playing certain characters, and what am I doing to myself? You know, it's like every character is a chapter of my life, so it's really hard to kind of say I love this one more than this one, or because it really goes along with a whole 2 years of my life, and whether that be meeting my husband or moving to New York or having a child, or falsettos will always be, I think, a very special storytelling and part because of the people I was lucky enough to tell the story with, the time with which it was being told, the political climate in which it was being told. There was one line after we knew Trump was going to be our president, and I had a song as Trina that says, "I'm tired of all the happy men who rule the world." Yeah. And the song then begins to unfold. And the whole audience that night, I think it was November the 9th, just everybody went, ah! There was like this audible gasp. And to know that you're telling a story that affects people in that way, that it's not only a special storytelling, but it's important, that felt important to me back in 2016, 2017. It was just something cathartic for me, something that I shared with the audience that I don't know I'll ever be able to replicate. There will always be other important and special moments, but falsettos during that time and how it affected people, and who I met at the stage door, and who was drawn to the theater to hear the story, I changed for forever because of that piece.
Yeah, I mean, and you never know who you're talking to through your music and through your art, right? That was incredible. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I feel like I threw everything at you so quickly. I'm so sorry.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. Oh my gosh. Can I touch on one thing? This Friday, I am a huge advocate for Covenant House, which is an incredible organization. Oh, thank you for allowing me to speak on it. 7-8 years ago, Capathia Jenkins and myself, another force in the Broadway community, we established Broadway Sleeps Out, and it's for Covenant House. And right now, like everyone, but especially, they are hurting. They need us. It helps homeless youth in New York City as well as across the country. They really make a social and human statement for the LGBTQ community, for trafficking kids, and they take them in. I get very emotional. They take them in, they house them, they keep them safe, they feed them. And in this time, more than any other, they need us. So on Friday, this Friday, meaning tomorrow, there is a virtual sleep out. And really, it is just to say we recognize their struggle. We are in solidarity with them. And whatever you can do, if you want to sleep out on your floor, if you want to sleep out on your backyard, if you just want to make yourself, even though we all feel a bit uncomfortable right now, make yourself that much more comfortable for Covenant House awareness. If you can, go to the website and donate anything that you might be able to share. We are very grateful. It's covenanthouse.org. There is a button for sleep out. And these kids are extraordinary. Their hope, their resilience. So I encourage you to visit the site, learn more about Covenant House, and if you can, make yourself just a little bit more uncomfortable this Friday night in solidarity with all the youth that are on the streets, and they need protection, and they need us to do that. So thank you.
I am so grateful for you for bringing that up. I was speaking with Kevin Ryan of Covenant House, and Kevin.
The president.
Kevin's going to be coming on next week, I believe, next Friday. He'll be joining me, and Rachel Brosnahan will be on here with me.
Oh my gosh, oh great.
Next week to talk about Covenant House as well. I think the day I spent at Covenant House in New Orleans will be one of the most special days I had on the campaign trail, meeting with some of their guests and just listening to their stories. And randomly, I was with Mandy Moore that day. She was on the trail with me, and we just got to sit and talk to some of these kids, and it was just incredible. They're doing such important work, and I'm so grateful that you are supporting them, and you're going to continue helping get the word out.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Blessings to both you and Mayor Pete, and guys, everybody stay home, stay safe, and we'll just keep getting through it by doing moments like this and trying to have as much human connection as we can while keeping everybody else safe and sound.
Thank you for spending your half hour with us. Thank you for helping spread joy, and I hope we get to chat soon.
I would love that. You're a delight. Have a good one.
Hello to the family. Take care.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Oh, she's incredible. I'm so sorry. I had a whole list of like 30 questions you all submitted. You submitted so many amazing questions, but I'm trying not to take up too much time here. Thank you to everyone for contributing your questions and commentary on Twitter and on Facebook and Instagram. It's been great spending this half hour with you, just spreading a little joy and coming together. Even though we have to be physically apart, it doesn't mean that we can't still spread some joy, have some smiles. Thank you so much, Stephanie J. Block, for spending your time with us. I look forward to seeing you all here tomorrow. It's been a fun week on the live stream yesterday, talking all about digital organizing in 2020 and how we can be helpful this fall. Today, geeking out about theater. I'd said it's like all my worlds coming together. Tomorrow, we're going to talk to Peter Sagal from NPR in Chicago. If you listen to Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, we have a lot of fun things to talk about. So until then, thanks so much for spending your time with me. Don't forget to call your mom and take care of one another. Be well.